On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's a former 9-time Pro Bowl NFL legend and Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest safeties and all-around defensive backs in the history of the sport. He's one of the most feared competitors to wear the iconic Philadelphia Eagles uniform. His life story is one of constant renewal and rebirth, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. He's a speaker, life coach, and badass author of his new book, Blessed by the Best. His mindset is absolutely bulletproof, and his faith is on a whole other level. He's just an overall juggernaut in all facets of life and a phenomenal husband and father. Please welcome the iconic Weapon X, Brian Dawkins. How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing a lot better now that you've given me that tremendous introduction, Jack.
I did good by you?
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it. Absolutely.
Good, buddy. And like we were talking before we went on air, you know, this is one of the greatest things about what I get to do now is interview some of the world's greats. But you personally, like, I'm a diehard fan. You've always been one of my favorite players, which is a little weird because I'm from New York and I've been a Jets fan, but I just respect you, the competitor, and obviously your mindset so much. In fact, when I used to work on Wall Street years ago, I used to play some of the videos on YouTube, watching you and your entrance when you would walk out as Weapon X. It used to get me so fired up for the day, and I just wanted to acknowledge you for that.
No, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, hell yeah. So like I said, I know you've done a lot of these. We're going to keep this fresh. The audience loves to hear about the journey and so forth. But before we start there, we're going to start off a little weird. You ready for me?
Go ahead. Let's go. Come on.
Brian, what's your superpower?
Wow, what's my super? Passion.
Yeah, it is. I can confirm.
Passion.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Life on purpose.
I just want to say, I know you're big with your faith and so forth, and it's so contagious. Like even people that might not be that strong with their faith, listening to you speak about it, like it makes other people want to strengthen that relationship. So that's phenomenal.
No, appreciate you.
Yeah. What's something a little weird about you that a lot of people might not know?
I don't know if it's weird. I can hold a note. Like I can sing. So
Come on.
Yeah.
That's unique. I don't think anyone would expect that.
Yeah. I can hold the note. I'm not, I guess, studio ready, but I can hold a note. I can hold a note.
That is fascinating. I love that. With all the stuff that you've done in your life, so many different chapters, seasons, and different acts, like what you're doing now is obviously different from when you were on the football field. But at this point right now, Brian, what makes you feel most alive?
Wow. Blessing people with hope. Like the expected, an expected end, a good expected end to whatever journey that they may find themselves on. That is the thing that is really driving me. And it's a passion that I have. That's a part of my passion.
Yeah, that's just gripping. I'm absolutely moved. And I just want to say to you, like, and I don't know you that well yet. And obviously this conversation hopefully will change that. But one of your gifts, I think most people would think it's being an athlete on the gridiron. But your gift to me has always been just like your inspiration and perseverance to give hope, to inspire anyone to do anything in different facets of life. And I know you've been through a lot so forth, especially mentally and so forth. So it's so contagious, my man.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That is something that I can tell you that I have not always saw in myself. You know, I've grown up real quickly. In the book, you can tell that I stuttered. I felt that I was a stutterer when I grew up, and I became really introverted because of it. Like, very embarrassed about the way that I spoke. And so for someone to then tell me that now that I would be speaking in front of people and inspiring people, and there's something about me that people want to listen to me talk, you couldn't have told me that when I was younger, because I wouldn't have believed you. I would have told you to, basically to get out of my face if you had told me back then that I would be doing what I'm doing now and inspiring people.
Yeah, I love that. And also, like, just touching upon that for a second, I also saw you say something like you living someone else's dream, because you never necessarily dreamt that big to be in the Hall of Fame, to do all the things you've done? Touch on
No,
that.
no. When I started off playing a game of football and all the way back to Little League, that was not something that I thought about of being a Hall of Famer. I wanted to be a professional at something, whether it be basketball or football. It just so happened to I was better at football. But I can tell you, I was always looking at being the best that I could be at the place that I was. And I really didn't really begin to have visions of college until I got probably into the maybe ninth grade. So my vision was to work. My vision was to be better than the individual that's trying to have the same position as me at the time. My vision was to make the coaches know at different points, especially in that time that I had to play center from quarterback, that I'm supposed to be doing something else. So I really developed a worker. I really developed something inside of myself to put your head down and grind, to not worry about too far ahead, to put your head down and grind and win today, to be the best today, to be the best on the field at your position today. And as I continued to grind and go in that way, things begin to have more and more success in my life. And then obviously I developed the mindset later on, okay, so I need to start having some goals and visions, right? Now, obviously I didn't think about things in terms of how I do now. But even back then, I began to think of, okay, well, maybe I can make it to the NFL. Excuse me, make it to college, because my brother went to Louisville, right? So, wow, my brother, someone from my house, is in college. So, yeah, I can make it in college too. So now that becomes a goal of mine, right? But you read in the book, I messed some things up, and I couldn't go to the university that I wanted to go to, which was the Florida Gators, and so I had to have somebody actually tell the university, which was Clemson, that if he could come, excuse me, in order for him to come to Clemson, I had to come with him. That's how I got to Clemson. People don't really know that.
I
They
didn't know
thought
that.
yeah, people think that I was always a winner, always. No, it's because they really
No.
wanted my teammate, my high school teammate, Patrick Sapp at the time. And Pat basically told them that if I come to Clemson, Doc has to come with me. That's how I got to Clemson.
That's, first of all, thank you for revealing that, pulling back the curtain on that. I feel like that's, like you said, like that's not necessarily a lot of information that people know about you. I appreciate the vulnerability of that. And also just touch upon what you said. At first you were kind of playing center, and I believe you approached your pops and wanted him to speak to the coach. And he said something to you along the lines of, finish what you started and do it with the right attitude.
So his whole philosophy when I first started, this is even before I got into the center position or moved into another position, that if you start something, you finish it. So you're not quitting. So he kept asking me, "Do you want to play?" I said, "Yes." "You want to play?" "Yes." "All right." Boom. So his speech to me, or his talk with me, was in the beginning that not only will you give your best, not only will you finish it because you're not quitting, you're going to be coachable. So you're going to listen and grow the whole time. So now I hear it and I see it in the form of wherever I find myself, I'm going to grow in it. Even if I don't love to be where I am, I'm going to find the nugget. I'm going to find something in that space. Because if I'm in that space now, I understand that I'm supposed to learn something from that. Because we don't just go through things, we grow through them if we allow ourselves to have the understanding that we can and we must, right? And so that's where I took the next step of using that same formula in whatever situation I got to in life after that. So once I learned that, once that became a mindset, that even at the age of, I think I was 12, 13 at the time, once I got it and once it clicked and once I trusted and I gave my word basically to my father that I would do things that way, that became my mindset. So to this day, I do it just like that. And whatever you tell me to do, even if I don't like it, I'm gonna give you all. I'm gonna go. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you more than is expected of me in that situation. Because after that, after I've gotten out of that place that I don't like to be, guess what I'm going to be after that? I'm going to be more of an asset to someone or something, because I've learned some things by pushing myself in that tough situation.
If you know a good surgeon, let me know, because you're gonna have to surgically remove the smile from my face. So, so many times in life, Brian, like you meet people, like especially since I started my brand, you meet people that you might have looked up for a very long time, and sometimes, respectfully, it's a little bit of a letdown. You are as Brian Dawkins as I've ever seen you. You're so authentic. It's so powerful. Like you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing right now. Like anyone, all the people that are going to hear this, hopefully millions at some point, are going to be immediately impacted with everything. You have a gift for storytelling, but you said earlier, your superpower is passion. I mean, like if there was ever someone that superpower is passion, it's you. And I have to acknowledge you for that. It's so profound.
No, and I appreciate that. And that is something that I can tell you didn't come from necessarily good places, right? So I had to. I've gone through some stuff, grown through some stuff
Yep.
that has really shaped that, and has allowed me to once again find the energy, find the drive, find whatever I need to find to be better than what you expected me to be in whatever situation I'm put in. Period. I don't care what the situation is. If whatever I need to learn, if I need to learn something more, if I need to ask questions, right? I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to find out what I need to find out in order for me to be better at this thing than you thought I was going to be. Especially if I hear anyone around me, and I use these things for fuel now. Anytime that I hear anything around me that saying that I can't do it, oh my goodness, that's fuel.
That's a trigger.
Those are logs for my fire, brother. Those are
Yeah.
logs for my fire.
Oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. And also something just to touch upon what you said earlier, like once your pop said that to you, it was ingrained in your brain from that moment on. And it's something I always teach like my clients and a lot of the followers, like change doesn't take as long as people think. It's a misconception. It's conditioning. Once you decided that you were going to see things through with a good attitude, no matter what, that became your new conditioning until this very moment today.
Yes, yes, and from a neurological standpoint, building those neural pathways and making them connection after connection stronger, stronger, stronger. Because I've done this thing a specific way since that time, every time. Now, in the beginning, I'm not going to tell you it was easy. I'm not going to tell you that every once in a while I didn't have a little, bad attitude, but I quickly caught myself in that. I was a conscious and aware of it. So I was, what is it? I became conscious competent of the things that I needed to do differently. Obviously, I didn't know those big words back then, but that's what I became in that moment. So I fixed my attitude. I changed my attitude. And so the other thing that I learned from that experience, and this was so powerful because it shaped me a lot of who I am today. This one conversation we're having me shaped me in so many ways. It taught me that I can utilize that anger or the frustration that I have with someone else to absolute dominate the person in front of me from a football standpoint, right? And so even if you take that premise though, and you take that energy that you could be using on this person in a bad way or angry way, and you take that same energy and then you apply it to this thing that I'm about to do. That's that focus. Now I can focus in, I can dial in. And so when you focus in, like I'm focusing in on this camera right now, when you focus in,
And he is.
yeah, and some of these things around you, you don't see them quite as much unless you say something about your peripheral, then you begin to pick up things. But the more that I begin to think on, okay, I'm gonna whip this dude in front of me. And
Tunnel
it took
vision.
me to the point of sometimes you remember in Waterboy with Adam
Sandler.
Chandler, right? And he was like, you don't talk about my mama. Don't talk about my mama, right? You remember that when he was the
Course.
linebacker, right?
Of course.
That is what I was doing in a little bit on the field. Obviously, that movie wasn't out then. But
Right.
again, you can utilize, and this is a powerful thing for anybody and everybody in this situation now. You can utilize that negative energy that you're using towards this person in anger, and you can use that same energy and apply it in a positive way.
You can anchor it and channel it. Is this kind of like what
Absolutely.
you always talk about, controlled chaos? Is this related to that?
Yes, control
I
chaos.
love you, man.
Control chaos. And so
Yeah.
one of the things that in my prayer time, in my meditation and prayer time, the Lord gave me this because I did have anger issues back in the day, and this is before I began to go down the path of being enlightened that I can control my emotions. Really, I didn't really understand that I could, and I did until after my rookie year. To be honest with you, that's when it happened. The the path that we go down in order for us to truly understand what we can do is not always a comfortable one. Sometimes you're going to go through these things that are going to push some buttons in you, that are going to jog some things loose in you, right? But it's the things that it's how you respond. And I didn't say react. I say respond to situations. That's the thing that matters the most. That's the things that matters the most.
Sound mind and self-discipline. Yeah.
You can't do anything without self-discipline, to be honest with you. Anything substantial on a continuous basis, I'll say that. Anything substantial on a continuous basis, success-wise, it's not going to happen unless you have self-discipline.
Yeah.
Not
And
outside. You don't need other people. I don't necessarily need other people to tell me I need to work out still, right? I don't.
yeah. No, yeah, self-discipline, and obviously you're motivated by yourself. You mentioned your rookie season, and then things started to change after that. I know it's very well documented. Your rookie year, you were in a little bit of a dark place. Maybe that's an understatement. Why was that, and how were you able to get out of that?
Yeah. So my rookie year, I went through that dark place, and I raised my hand a long time ago and took accountability for all of that because that was 100% me because I wasn't talking. I wasn't sharing my feelings. There's nobody in my life that I had at that moment that I felt comfortable talking to, which I didn't know I could talk to sometimes. Growing up where I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, being an African American male in my community, you don't talk about your feelings. You suck it up. You deal with it. That's what a man does. A
Throw
man
dirt
has
on
to,
it.
a man, yeah, you rub dirt on it. A man has to just handle situations and don't let them see the commercial, right? Don't ever let them see you sweat, right? That's how you handle everything. And you're told that as a young person. And there are some things that you can handle like that. There are, but not mental stuff, man. Not some trauma stuff. Like we need help. That's why, you know, people thrive better in a community. There's a reason why that is. There's a reason why one of the worst places you can put a person is in solitary confinement, right? That's one of the worst places you can put a person. So when you're not talking, like I wasn't, and you're not sharing your feelings and your emotions, you're literally putting yourself in a self-made solitary confinement, hurting yourself. And so that pressure was building because that anger was building because I wasn't talking about. I was a pond that didn't have an inlet or outlet. And what happens? Stagnation, right? Toxins. And the pressure began to build and build and build. And so that's when those anger issues began to show up. And so because of that, I went into it was a bunch of anxiety. Fear began to become real evident on the field sometimes. Me not wanting to go make plays because I was scared to make a mistake. And then that slowly and quickly went, not slowly, that quickly went into depression. And I went down into a dark, dark, dark place. I know
Slippery
what my
slope.
dark place, yeah,
Yeah.
I know what my dark place looks like. I really do. And it was during that time that I had two people in my life. Emmett Thomas, my defensive back coach at the time, I called him Uncle E, and my wife Connie. Basically, they grabbed my hand after one event that it's in the book that, you know, I was fed up and ran my head through a wall. They basically took my hand in so many words and said, "You're going to see somebody," right? And that's what I did. And when I did that, I began to have a conversation with this cat that I'd never met before. It was extremely uncomfortable in the beginning. But what it did is allowed me to come down off my emotions. I also took medication for a while, and it took me off my emotions. And when my emotion began to come down, I was able to then hear a lot louder the voice that was already inside of me telling me some of the things I needed to be doing. And that was my faith. That was my vertical relationship. That was the Lord. That was the Holy Spirit in me. And so when that happened, I began to then create and ask, okay, so how can I not only, I don't want to maintain anything. I don't believe you maintain anything. There is no such thing as maintaining. Either you're getting better or you're getting worse. There is no maintaining. So I was thinking, so how can I get better from where I am? And so what I did is I developed the thing that I do every day now. Is I pray, I read, I meditate, and I journal every day. Every day, sometimes longer than others, but every day. This is something that I habitually do. And again, this came from me going through what I went through, getting the treatment, getting the help, and then coming on the other side of it saying, okay, so how can I, from this moment going forward, do things differently than I just did them? Because what I just did didn't work. So I'm going to do something completely different. And this is what I've been doing from ever since. And so that's in this book. Some of these things is in this book.
Yeah, this is priceless. Such gold, Brian. And two things real quick. One other thing that you do daily, correct me if I'm wrong, is every hour we do gratitude and we say thank you. Hell
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. I did that in the beginning.
Okay.
So I would set it on my phone once an hour to give thanks. This is what happened, and I created during that time. Now, I don't have to do that anymore. I look for reasons to be grateful now. So throughout the hour, I could just be riding down the street and driving, and I'll see a cloud formation, and I'm like, wow, oh wow, look at that. How blessed am I to have a relationship with this cat that created what I'm looking at right now. You see what I'm saying? So, and when I yawn sometimes, like when I yawn, not sometimes, every time, when I yawn, I say, thank you, Jesus. You know why? Because the breath that I just inhaled and exhaled is because of him. It's because of that vertical relationship.
Yeah.
That's what I believe. You feel me? So
100%.
I find ways and find reasons to be grateful. Now in the morning, in my gratitude, I do write out at least 3 times in the morning the things and the people that I'm grateful for. That's a part of my journaling.
Yeah, this is beautiful. And also, like you were talking about, if you don't do things to get out of a situation, like that's on us. The way I heard you articulate it was something like I never heard before. Like things in life that are sometimes obstacles or challenges, it's just a season unless we condition ourselves kind of negatively to stay in a negative cycle.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth. The things that we go through, like I talked about growing through.
Yep.
For instance, the storms that have hit since the creation of the U.S., none of them stayed longer than they were supposed to. Every last one of them, every last natural storm came and went. Now, there was damage done in different times, but my point is every one of them came and went. So for everything, there is a season. So you will not stay in the state that you're in, no matter where you find yourself. And that's a positive thing for me. Because when I go through that tough situation, I recognize that it's only for a duration or only for a time. Now, again, if my mindset then clicks to what am I supposed to learn in this? Where I am right now, going through what I'm going through, how can I grow in it? So now the situation, the perspective of the situation changes. And this is a powerful, powerful truth. Your perspective of a situation is one of the most powerful tools that we have been given. Because me and you can both go and we can go to a movie. And on the way to the movie, we can be in the car. And you're driving and we're laughing. And a car cuts in front of us at the last second. And you slow down and, and we keep on going. Now we're mad at that person and we're talking about it. And then up the road, there's a huge car crash. A huge car crash. Now, if we had not got delayed by this person, we could have possibly been in that car crash, right? So my perspective switches. It needs to switch in that situation. And so whatever you see a situation to be, your brain understands it to be your truth. That's what it is. So whatever you see the situation as, or whatever you say the situation to be in your mind, that's what your body and your brain sees as your truth.
This is unbelievable because it's so true. And it's something I always consciously practice is your perspective on everything. It could be a positive or it could be negative, but that's our choice. That's something we get to control. And your story summed it up 100% so perfectly. Beautiful.
And that's the thing. We have to come up and we have to understand that we do have choice. There is a choice. And we make a choice. Matter of fact, not making a decision to go after something that you want in life
Is a decision.
is a decision.
That's
You
right.
made a decision,
Yeah.
right? So we have a choice in every one of the things that I'm talking about. Now, I also talk about some things of not in the book, but in my course that's coming out in a couple of weeks.
You hear that, audience? Should you go check out Brian's course? Absolutely.
It's called the Beast Package. It's called the Beast. It's the
The
Beast.
Beast package?
It's the Beast Package. Weapon
Couldn't
X
be more
Academy
fitting.
Beast Package. And in that package, what I tell you is that you have to understand your area of control. And my area of control, your area of control, is simply this. It's my actions, my response, my effort, and my attitude. That's what I have control over. And things that are happening in your life and coming your way, they're going to be found in those 4 areas that we can control. Anything outside of that, I can't control what someone says. I can't control what someone does. I can only control my actions. What type of actions? Am I a person of action? Do I do what I tell you I'm going to do? If I say I'm going to do something, do I doggone do it, right?
Integrity.
Yeah, integrity. You know, do the actions that I take bring value to myself and to those around me, right? My response. Now, my response is different from reaction, right? My reaction means that some of the actions that were done to me will be in my reaction. So that's some anger might be there, some resentment might be in there, right? No, it's purely me response. So the way that I see that is I have a choice. We have a choice. That's why it's called taking offense, right? You have to take offense. An offense has been offered and we have to take it. I don't have to take it. I can leave offense right there.
And
I
therefore
can
won't
leave
affect
offense
you.
right there.
That's right.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
And so when you understand this area of control, and then we get to your attitude, your effort. I talked about that, right? I've already talked about what type of effort you give in any and all situations. You become
Yep.
a pull back person, not someone that someone has to tell you to speed up or to finish work. You give more than is expected of you. And then the last one is your attitude. Your attitude, listen, your attitude might be the chief of all of these other things. Because if you have the know-how, if you have the smarts, if you're even making some good decisions, right? But your attitude stinks, people
only
are
a
not
matter
going
of
to want to
time.
really be around you.
No.
They're only going to tolerate you because of what you have and what you can get for them. They won't want to be around you because of you, right? So your attitude is so, and some people just have dry attitudes, right? And so when you understand the significance of having that attitude and the attitude that I want to have for people, I want when people see my number come up on their phone, they start smiling.
They're elevated.
They can't wait to talk to me because they know that when we're talking, we are both going to be elevated from the conversation because I'm gonna help push the envelope in that way. And then once they get off the phone, they're going to feel lighter because of it, not heavy, lighter because of it.
Yeah, and I can confirm you're doing that to me right now. And it's so funny because everybody always asks me, like, how you so energetic, how you so passionate, because I love what I'm doing. And I always take pride also in elevating everyone's state. Doesn't matter if it's the guy at the deli, the doorman, and someone on the podcast, whatever the case would be. And I love that you're the same way. This just makes for just complete elevation. It's fantastic.
Yes, yes. And this came one of the this part of what you just talked about and the elevator man or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
This came from watching my father. My father worked and he worked extremely hard for what he provided for us. And it didn't, ends didn't always meet, but he worked his behind off at that job for 40 something years. And one of the things that I watched my dad do, I don't care if it was the trash man, I don't care if it was the janitor, I don't care. He treated everyone the same. Everyone. They knew Mr. Ralph. Oh, they would be, oh, hey, how you doing, Mr. Ralph? So that's where I learned this from. So I take the same pride. And so I say it like this now, that those individuals that you see that are doing these so-called menial jobs, they have families just like mine. They're putting food on the table just like me. They love my kid. They love their kid, excuse me, just like I do. So we're no different. The only difference is the occupation that we do to provide for our families.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't I treat this person just like myself? And that's what my favorite book says, that you treat others the way you would want to be treated.
Yeah.
And that's how I handle it.
Yeah. And like people will probably classify you as one of the baddest football players ever. That's true, but that's not who you are,
That's
as
not
Brian
who I am.
Dawkins.
That's not who I am. And I'm glad you said that, because football is what I did. It's not who I was. It's not who I am. And I get it. People when people see me to this day, they always want to talk about football, and I can dig it. You know, I loved the game of football, right? But that is not the totality of who I am. That individual, that passion that I played the game with, I'm doing this next venture with that same passion. And instead of me hitting people across the middle with a forearm or something like that, I'm hitting them with some word, right? I'm hitting them with some inspiration. I'm hitting them with some truth. I'm hitting them with some principles that they can live their lives differently, right? And so it's different, but I'm still hitting people hard.
Yes, you are. And you mentioned rocking people with the forearm. Your nickname is Weapon X or the Wolverine. And I understand the concept very specifically because essentially you're modeling like an alter ego. It's no different than when Beyonce goes on stage and she becomes Sasha Fierce. Off the stage, she's much different. I utilize the same thing when I do speaking engagements or stuff like that. I used to model my inner 007 James Bond just to be super confident. I
Yeah.
love that you did that. You had your own locker, Brian Dawkins, and then another locker, Weapon X. Is that
Weapon
correct?
X. Yes. Yes. And that was funny. Like that was, I didn't know it was gonna stay there for forever.
It's
Once we did
iconic.
it first, but it got to the point, and this was the crazy thing. It got to the point that when I went to Denver, guess how many lockers I had?
It's
Two.
stuck there. It stayed
I
there.
had a Weapon X and I had a Brian Dawkins locker for my alter ego. Right now, that was fun playing around with it. But I understood this, and I understand that to this day, that dude still lives here. That passion is still here, and I talked about it earlier. You can energy is transferable, right? So I can utilize that passion, that drive in different ways now. I'm not necessarily going to be crawling into the office, I'm not going to get hype like that, but I can get hype in different ways. So I can utilize that energy, especially in speaking engagement, brother, because when I get in front of the crowd, that crowd has become a part of my team. We're teammates. So I get to talk to them like I would talk to my teammates in the locker room, or talk to my defensive backs if we've had a tough game or we need to do something different. I get to encourage my new teammate, my teammates to think about doing things differently. But also in that conversation that I have with them, I offer up some of my shortcomings. I offer up some of the things that I've fallen short in my life and
Vulnerability.
how I've overcome those things, so that they won't think I'm just talking from the stage and looking down at you, mortals, and this is, you need to do these things different. No, I'm telling you that, yes, I make some of these similar questionable decisions and
And
questionable
also, Brian,
actions.
just to interject for a second, that's what makes
Yeah.
you so successful in this next act because you exercise radical humility and people find that so relatable.
Yeah. The thing about humility for me is I see humility as power under control.
Yeah.
That's what I see humility as. I see humility as power under control. And also, when I allow people to see past the veneer or the image that they see of me, when I allow them to see that, yes, there's flesh under this, right? I'm going to make some bad decisions, and I have made bad decisions, and these are some of those things. But this is the thing that I can tell each and every person that is looking at this right now. And if you need this, this is for you. All of us are victors. All of us. You know why? You and I have come through 100% of the storms that we've faced. 100.
Facts.
Facts. Because if we didn't, we wouldn't be
Be having
talking
this
right.
conversation right
We
now.
would not be having this. So you have to give yourself a pat on the back, right? Give yourself a pat on the back because you are a victor. Now, we just have to continue to get up. Don't stay down. And you don't have to get right back up sometimes. Sometimes we have to, and it's in the book, sometimes you have to take a standing 8 count, right? You have to take a knee, take a couple of breaths, right? You know, sometimes I'll give myself a weekend, right? Yeah, okay. Give myself a weekend, made a mistake. Yeah, take that 8 count, eat some ice cream, you know, eat bad a little bit. But on Monday, when Monday hits, it's go time.
Yeah.
It's go time.
Hell yeah. And I can relate to that very much so because I'm a super positive person also. I love to transfer energy. Recently, I was at a speaking engagement actually with our mutual friend, David Meltzer, and I got injured playing football on the beach as I'm training for the Chicago Marathon. I thought I broke my foot. And I came back and it wasn't a sprained ligament as they diagnosed it. I actually had a tumor in the bottom of my foot, which shook me up, caught me off guard. And I gave myself a full day of like a little bit of a pity party. Like shit, like I didn't see that coming. The very next day, Brian, it was strategy and tactics. Let's identify the top 3 doctors in Manhattan who handle stuff like this. Let's go to work and got the surgery, thank God. And the tumor was benign. So I'm back on my feet and the next marathon is going to happen sooner than people think. But it's so relatable to what you said. Like for the audience, like it's okay to take a moment, that standing 8 count.
Standing 8 count.
But then on Monday,
you going.
That's it.
And the timetable is yours, right? I just said the weekend because you know I've done that a couple of times. So here's the other thing: the perspective. You just gave me perspective. You just gave yourself perspective. Now, you could have looked at that as, oh, my hurt my doggone foot. I'm out of the race. But actually, you found something that you would not have found had you not hurt your foot.
Exactly.
Perspective, right?
Exactly.
So that's that thing. Looking for, okay, so why is this thing happening? What did it bless me with? Right? It blessed me to get this thing removed. It's benign.
Yeah.
Now let's go.
Yeah. And I don't ever really get mad this day and age. I'm just so mindful and stuff like that. Someone asked me after the surgery, like, how you doing? I said, I'm in really good spirits and I'm excited about the a recovery process. And they're like, how are you always in such good spirits? And I was like, taken aback. I was like, because I choose to be, and perspective. Thank God this happened. So I found the tumor to get it taken care of. So you are on the same page.
Because it's a choice.
It
is a choice. Because the other choice is what? Sulk.
Yeah, misery.
Mad, misery, be angry. Now, the thing is, you said choice. And here's the thing that we are both in the field of trying to help people understand is that you can do this. I can do this. You can do this. You can do this. Like anybody that decides that this is what I'm going to do can do this. And it's not easy, but it's simple, right?
That's it.
It's not easy, but it's simple.
Commitment and strategy, and obviously effort.
Commitment and strategy. I love it. And effort. Absolutely.
The only negative thing going on in my life right now is that you and I only had an hour today and not 10. This is this is unbelievable. I have to ask you about this because one of the big things that you always talk about is most of your success has come on the back of pain. And I think if more people can understand that that's usually how it works, they wouldn't stay in sulk for as long as they typically do because they know this is just a season.
Yeah. And so I'll put myself in this as well. We would really prefer things to happen without any turbulence.
Sure.
We go to one level to another level with no issues. Matter of fact, we would love to have an elevator that just takes us from here to there and be there. I remember hearing this about mountain climbers, that if they were to just be teleported up to the top of the mountain, they would not be able to survive because they weren't acclimated
To the air, yeah.
to the air on the journey, right? I look at it from this perspective, that me, I love the weight, I love to lift weight, excuse me.
Same.
To this day, I love working out. I love pushing the envelope. I love.
And by the way, you still got it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's still here.
Those biceps.
Yeah. It's because again, this is who I am, right? It's not what I do anymore. It's who I am. But I recognize this when it comes to me getting stronger and me getting more flexible. When you want to get stronger lifting weights, what do you have to do? You have to put more weight on the bar.
Resistance.
Now, when you put more weight on the bar, sometimes you can't push it by yourself. You need a spotter, someone to spot you. That's what we need in life. We need people to spot us. We need people in our lives to help us with some of the weight, so we're not doing everything or feel like we're doing everything by ourselves, right? Same thing with stretching. Stretching, I remember, I couldn't touch my toes for a long time. I wasn't very flexible. Oh, yeah. But here's the thing. When I began to have someone to help push me down, I would take a deep breath and then I would push me down. I could go further than I could by myself, right? And sometimes it was hurting. Now, don't get me wrong. It was still hurting.
Sure.
But they were pushing me further than I would go by myself. Pushing myself through these pains. So the point is this, that in life, when those certain circumstances come, when we're pushing through things, we're learning things about ourselves. We're getting stronger in areas, especially when you develop the ability and the understanding of the importance of breathing and meditating. You can understand that, okay, I can now, this problem that is this huge issue, as I begin to breathe and meditate on this thing and then ask other individuals that I'm close with into this with me, it becomes something that's teaching me. I'm a student in the class of life.
Yep.
And life is teaching me in this moment through some painful stuff. And the last thing is this, we don't grow in comfort. Your faith does not grow in comfort. It will not grow in comfort. It has to be pushed. You have to be out of a little bit flexed. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to be. I was going to say this last thing, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, please do, Brian. And
all right, so
yeah, go
other
ahead.
one. I'll give you another one. We always talk about iron sharpening iron.
Yep.
Right, and that's that spotter that I was talking about. Sometimes the spotter, a good spotter, won't just pick the weight up off you. A good spotter will talk you, help you, motivate you to see if you can move it first, and then they'll assist you, right? But here's the other thing with the process of iron sharpening iron. Think about the process of iron sharpening iron. I don't have anything. Okay, I have pencils right here. So when iron sharpens iron, what has to happen? Friction. That's not comfortable.
No.
That's why you have to have people in your life that'll speak truth to you. Not what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. And you have to allow those people, matter of fact, you have to invite them into that space with you to be accountability. We get nowhere in life without accountability. Nowhere.
100%.
There's no way that I could have had the success that I had on the field if I did not have self-accountability, yes, but also
Coaching.
Outside accountability.
Yeah,
my coaches looking at things, or my teammates pointing out things on film that I need to get better at. And sometimes the embarrassment of someone pointing out something to you will fire you up so much because you don't want to make that mistake again. You don't want to be embarrassed again. You're going to find a way. You're going to get better. You're going to get stronger. And that helps you in the long run.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you continued the story. It's 100% so true. Like, no one in anything is a one man or woman show.
No.
Period.
No.
Period.
Not even close.
Yeah.
Not even close. Even those individuals that call themselves self-made millionaires.
Yeah. Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So you had
Right.
nobody. There's no one else in your corner that helped you. There's
Right.
no one that connected you with different resources along the way. You did
Yeah.
everything by yourself right now.
Yeah. And also something that you just touched upon, which is goals, like forming your circle with people and friends or family that will not co-sign your BS,
You have to.
right? A lot of people surround themselves with people pleasers, and that's actually cancerous because then you can't get better because they're keeping you in comfort. So that's such a good point.
And that is where I would say I don't know everybody, so I can't say
Yeah.
everybody, right? I, I would say a great percentage of individuals, because they don't want to have that embarrassment. They don't want to feel that ridicule. They don't want to feel that displeasure, or they don't want to be critiqued in a situation. But we have to. Again, if I knew everything, I wouldn't have needed coaches when I was playing. I needed coaches. Coaches look past, or they look at things from different lenses. I see things through the lens that I see things. And I heard a quote here that said that the world that you live in is not the world. It's just the world that you know. So the world that you know right now is not the world. It's just the world that you know.
Yeah.
So the world that I knew, right? I'm the head honcho in it, right? Like, I created this world. This is especially when as a player.
You're the
But no, the
CEO.
the coaches are looking from a different perspective.
That's
And
right.
so I have to invite these individuals in my life and allow them to speak into me the things that I need to get better at in order for me to be better. Because they're not just speaking at me to do things just because. It's because they see something in me different or more than I'm doing at the moment. And I trust them. That's the other thing. You have to trust these individuals you give this power to, right? You have to trust that they're saying things and doing things to help you in love.
Yeah. Amen, brother. I mean, again, the smile on my face. Could do this all day. Unbelievable. One other thing that you mentioned that I have to bring up is, and this is, I thought this was so profound. I don't think a lot of people had this mentality, sadly. You said wisdom isn't something you're supposed to take to the grave with you. There's so many people out there that are very good at a lot of things, don't even realize it. You got to give that back.
You have to, and you're supposed to.
Yeah,
You're supposed to. The things that I've learned in my life. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
I know.
And that's why I'm learning more. It's not that like I know so much now and listen to Brian Dawkins because I know that now. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still grasping different ways to explain what I was blessed to do when I played the game of football. My visualizations, my seeing things before they happen, my practices, my attention to detail, all of these things. And all of this has to do with how I program my brain, reprogramming my brain, reprogramming my thoughts. Me having me having an outstanding self-talk game now. My self-talk game is outstanding now.
This is the biggest game
Wasn't
changer in the
always.
world.
Say again.
This is
Say again.
the biggest game changer and technology that the world isn't familiar with, like NLP and neurolinguistic programming, that we could reprogram our brain and change our thoughts and thus change our world.
Yes.
It gets me so excited.
Yes. And so your question and your point going back, and I jumped off it. I wanted to go back down to that path. So what
With the wisdom given back.
the wisdom. So I wanted to make sure. So Miles Monroe, the late Dr. Miles Monroe, said this about the richest place on earth is not the diamond mines, is not where gold are found, is not salt or what oil is none of those places. The richest place is the graveyard, because in the graveyard you'll find ideas that were never acted, songs that were never sung, and so that wisdom and the truth and inventions and all of these things were taken to the grave with those individuals because they would not step out of their comfort zone. And sometimes, sadly, our comfort zone It's just the known. So even though it may not be necessarily comfortable where I live, it's my known. And I don't know anything outside of that. So even if it's, again, painful and I don't really like to be there, I'm comfortable here. And you get in a homeostasis kind of feeling for your body, and your brain does not want to step too far outside of the known, even if the known is not comfortable for you. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
And so when we finally get to understand it, and you can help someone see that you don't have to stay where you are. That thing that you have inside of you is not just to bless you. If you have something that has blessed you and has helped you to see life differently, or to do things differently in your home, that thing can, you know how many people that thing can bless, that can help. And so if I'm selfish with what I have and I say, you know what, I learned what I learned, I had the career that I had, I'm just going to play golf the rest of my life. I'm just going to, go to resort after it. No, I'm supposed to give back, give this to other individuals so that they can learn how to create a vision that's worth going after. So they can create a passion for this vision so that they can surround themselves with the right people, and that we can then go down that path of understanding, how am I going to get there? It's by passion. I may not know the how, but the how will come as I continue to take one step after the other,
That's it.
every day towards my vision.
It's like the secret and the law of attraction. Just take the next 200 feet and then the next 200 feet with passion, and the universe will provide opportunities. They'll open up massive doors for you. This is unbelievable, buddy. And also, you talk about vision, and I know you said those without the vision will perish.
Perish. So,
Yeah.
again, it's in my favorite book in the Word. My people perish because of the lack of vision, because of not having a vision for your life, for your family. That is the thing that is hindering a lot of people from living the life, like Bob Marley said. He says that to love the life you have and live the life that you love, right? To do that, to wake up every morning with a smile on your face,
Yeah.
passionate about the thing you're about to go do. Now, if I grew up, where I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, that's not necessarily my story. Now, I was young because I was having fun, and that's different. But where I grew up, and as I began to grow up even more, and you see some of the things that are going on in the neighborhood, I recognize, I don't want to. This is not my life. This is not where I want to be. So that is when I began to get that vision I talked about earlier about, okay, maybe I can get to college. Okay, my brother got that. Boom, yes, that's my vision. So what do I need to do? That was my vision. What do I need to do to get there? So now these other things begin to fall in place for me to then do what I needed to do to get to college. And then I asked, I had a conversation with a friend, Patrick Sapp, about college, and he had a conversation with someone else to help me get to Clemson. Think about that.
Yeah.
Right? So if I did not have that vision,
It's all connected. Yep.
it's all connected. And so here's the other thing a vision does. A vision then, when I had that vision, guess what I began to drop out of my life? Any and all things that would prevent me from reaching it. People as well. People I was hanging out with, I couldn't hang out with you because this is my goal, this is my vision, and I'm not doing anything that's going to prevent me from reaching this thing. So actually, it makes my scope narrow. It makes my focus narrow. Yeah.
This is unbelievable, buddy. We're gonna end it with two final fun questions, and I want you to tell everyone where they can grab your book ASAP. And oh, by the way, for the audience, if you haven't seen this man's Hall of Fame speech, get to YouTube immediately and watch. I think it's moving, it's gripping, it's unbelievable. One of the greatest Hall of Fame speeches I've ever heard. I got to ask you, brother. Brian, the game's on the line, right? The quarterback drops back. He's going to throw. He's definitely not running it. What's your mindset like?
So my mindset, if the quarterback is dropping back, he's about to throw. That means more than likely I'm blitzing because it's Jim Johnson.
Okay.
Right? In that situation, game is on the line, more than likely I'm going to be blitzing. So my thought process is this. My thought process is to beat whatever block comes my way make the quarterback fumble, so one of my teammates scoops it up and they score. That's the play. If you ask me what is my favorite vision of a successful way of winning a game, that's it for me. Me making the play on a quarterback, making him fumble, and then my teammate picking it up and scoring.
Yeah, I
That's it
love
for
it.
me.
I love it. And I have to just acknowledge you. Like I've had a bunch of, Hall of Fame NFL players that I've speaking to recently, even on the show, so to speak. And they said the two most feared opponents ever, Brian Dawkins and Ray Lewis.
Oh wow! Oh, appreciate that.
Yeah.
That means I did my job.
Hell yeah.
That means I did my job.
Hell yeah. Where can the audience find the book?
Wow. Go to briandawkins.com. If you go to briandawkins.com, it doesn't come out to the 10th, but if you go ahead and order now, pre-order, you can order a signed copy on my site, briandawkins.com.
Brian, is it on Audible?
I don't believe so. Not yet. I don't believe so.
We got to get it on there because a lot of
Yeah.
people listen to books like nowadays.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Audible. I'm thinking of something else. No, it is not.
Okay.
But when it does, I will. Yeah, I will be the one that's orating it. Yes.
I love it. One final question. What's your definition of success?
Wow. Success is a continual growth into the thing that you're passionate about. It's continual growth into the thing that you're passionate about. Yeah.
Love it.
And I'll add at the end of that, the thing that you're passionate about and the area of your gifting.
My goodness.
In the area of your gifting.
Yeah. Like I said, the only negative thing is we don't have 20 hours today. I love you so much, buddy. One last thing is that you said earlier in the conversation, like faith isn't built in comfort. And I know you always say you're prayed up. And something that I've really been strengthening over the last couple of years is my faith, so to speak, and my relationship with God. And it just makes all the difference in the world. And it just changes your perspective on so much stuff. And it's so contagious listening to you talk about that. I want to acknowledge you.
No, I appreciate that, and I really do. And so I want to give you this. When I want you to, if you can, if it's not cloudy outside, go out and look outside, and look at the sky. Look at the sky. Take a very deep breath as you're looking at the sky, right? Look at the magnitude of the earth. Think about the vastness of the universe and all of those things, right? Now, bring yourself back to the place that you're sitting in and to think that you have been blessed to exist and to be breathing and to have the opportunity to do something significant with your life. Think about that. And then for me, when I then allow myself to truly expand my vision, to see all the things that is around me with nature, and I see that I have a chance to do some significant things in this world. So you don't have to, when your grass begins to grow, right? You don't have to go back and plant more seeds in it, right? It grows, it'll die, then it'll grow again. It constantly grows, right? So when we then are blessed to open up the eyes of someone, we use our gifts to open up the eyes of someone, that gift is then passed to someone else, and they can do the same thing to someone else, and they can do the same thing for someone else. Does this make sense now?
Yeah, of course.
And this can do the same thing to someone else. That's what I'm talking about. Being a blessing to people that I won't be able to even meet the people that I will be able to bless, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
All right. There's another quote in my favorite book that tells me that an honest living is immortal. An honest living is immortal.
Yeah.
So that means that idea that you give that person, that idea, when we leave, we leave. But that idea that you give that person, that idea lives forever, as long as it's a good idea that's blessing people. And they can take it and pass it on to their children and so forth and so on. Does this make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, Brian.
That's how my mind begins to operate
just to be clear, your legacy is immortal because long after you're gone, people are going to remember and watch back the way you made them feel. And I don't only mean the forearms on the football field, but like what we're doing right now, like this conversation is going to make people feel a certain way. And I want to acknowledge you for that. You're an unbelievable dude, my man. Besides just like being an incredible athlete, obviously Hall of Famer, such a good guy and so much wisdom. It's amazing. The only thing we ask of the audience, you guys love this as the show continues to break records, share it, tag Brian on it. Brian, I'm going to tag you on some stuff on Instagram. Where do you hang out the most in social media? Instagram?
I guess Instagram. I mean, yeah. I mean, I do a little something to help you. So if you go to briandawkins.com, but also you go to my Instagram, especially, I'm constantly giving things out per week of motivation for people.
I love it.
Right? Motivational Mondays and some a little different thing usually on Fridays where I use usually cartoon characters.
Yeah.
And then I use some of the quotes from different movies because I will never, ever let the kid in me die. Never.
Same.
Never.
Love all this, brother. Thank you so much for your time. The audience is going to absolutely fall in love with you in 2 seconds. In case they weren't, I just want to say to you, Brian, you are the definition of resilience, grit, and heart. From making it out of your neighborhood and into the NFL, you used adversity and God as motivation to become one of the greatest safeties of all time. You're an unbelievable father to your children, and your faith and relationship with God is absolutely beautiful. You're a legend, role model, and beacon of hope for anyone coming up today with big goals and aspirations. Your mindset is absolutely bulletproof, and it's so exciting to watch you spread your wings as a speaker, author, and coach now. I can't wait to read the new book. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. You have my word right here, right now. This will absolutely not be the last time that you and I collaborate.
Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Indeed. All right.
That was great.